Hello, everybody. It's David Perlmutter from Quantum Listing, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar on how to get more clicks on your listings. And uh, if you read the Quantum Listing blog, you know that we did a blog post with the same title this past week. And the blog post and the webinar were inspired by conversations that Julia had with one of our members. And the member was saying that when you searched the address of the exact address of the property, it showed up on the first page of Google. But when you just searched the street, which is Greenwich Avenue in Greenwich, it wasn't showing up, or maybe Greenwich Avenue Retail. And so, we had a conversation with him, and we were made some suggestions, and that got us thinking about how to, if this one particular user was struggling with this, it probably was something that lots of our members were. So that's the genesis of our discussion today. So uh, obviously, getting your listing on the first page of Google is sort of the everybody's objective, and not everybody can be on the first page. So we need to, massage our listings a little bit and do things to give them a better shot of it. And because it is such a highly competitive market, and there is no guarantee, it really is important that you do the things that you can do to increase your chances. And so this conversation with this user was, I guess, probably about a week ago Wednesday, and he took the advice that we gave him, which we'll discuss during the course of today's webinar. And I just checked a little while ago to see, if there was any result. And I didn't expect the result from the changes he had made to appear yet. Usually, it can take, a month or 2 months before things like this have an effect. And I was, very pleasantly surprised to see that he did show up on that first page today. So uh, I can say with a clear conscience that the advice you're going to get today actually works. It may not work every single time, but let's find out. And the only way we can find out is by doing it. And one of the advantages of quantum listing is that you get an unlimited number of listings. You can add an unlimited number of listings with your membership, with your premium membership. And unlike some other platforms where you have to pay for every single listing, this gives you the ability to experiment a little more. And prior to the conversation with this member, I started experimenting with one of my new listings. Just so you know, I've been a broker since 1986. Actually, a salesperson in 1986 and a broker in 1989. So, and I'm still an active broker. And so, one of the things I decided I was going to try uh, was to add a listing for each space in the buildings that I represented, not just one for the whole building. And given the world that we're living in today, which is the only world we get to live in, where people are more interested in screening things more thoroughly online before they commit to a showing, just because people are trying to reasonably limit their exposure to coronavirus. It made sense to me to do this way. I can have pictures of every single space, and you don't have to stop and figure out which space is which. I can have a video for each space. I can have a floor plan for each space, and it takes a little less mental effort for the prospective customer if I break it out that way. And look, when you're buying things online, which we all do practically on a daily basis, particularly now. You're not, each item that you're buying pretty much gets its own page. Everything sort of shows up in a search, and we have searches, and so if you're searching for retail in Greenwich, you'll see all the options. But it, once you get beyond the search and you want to start drilling down, it really does make sense to uh, add a separate listing for each space. It does take a little more time and effort, but I think the benefits will be clear. Not only are you more um, clearly showing what is going on in that particular space in that particular building, you're also giving yourself more opportunities to be discovered in web searches. So, I think there's a real, uh, powerful, uh, reason to do this, and that is you're going to get more clicks on your listings, and more clicks means, potentially more inquiries, more leads, more deals, and that's what we're all in this for. So, uh, having space is great. Having the inventory is great, but your real job is not to collect space, but to sell it for your landlords. So, uh, what can we do to get more clicks on our listing? So, our agenda today, is first we'll talk a little bit about quantum listing for those of you that are new. And we'll dive more into the tactics to increase your listing's search engine presence, including being tactical with your listing title and description, including long tail keywords. We'll explain what those are, adding content to your profile, and the importance of the listing images. Then we'll also discuss a few ways that while you're waiting for that search engine optimization to kick in, some things that you can do to get even more views and clicks and leads for your listings. So quantum listing, as I said, is we're a listing site. It's crowdsourced, so we count on you to add the listings. We do partner with other companies like Build Out and Sharp Launch and CRE Collaborative. So if your listings are on any of those platforms, you can syndicate your listings through them to us, so you don't actually have to spend the time on the keyboard adding those particular listings. And you get to post an unlimited number of listings for $89.99 a year. The great thing about the way our system works, and this comes from me as a broker, and what I wanted that I wasn't getting from the legacy companies that I was using. There's no paywall for buyers or tenants or other brokers to come and see your properties on our site. So, more than 60% of our traffic comes from uh, web searches. The bulk of those are Google searches, but there's Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and a few others. So we're getting a lot of our traffic from those sites, and you really want to put yourself in the best position to get those to get your listings indexed and ranked highly. And you can't control it. Every time somebody tries to figure out exactly what to do for Google, they change their algorithm a little bit. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game, but if you just exercise sort of good practices, you don't really have to worry too much about what Google's going to do in changing their algorithm. So here we had a conversation with one of our members a couple of weeks ago, and this guy actually had previously worked for one of the big companies that has a listing service, and so it was really, really interesting for us because we got to hear a little bit of his perspective on what we were doing, and he was thankfully very positive. And this, what you see in the box here on red at the bottom of the screen, is one of his listings, and he wrote, medical condo for sale, Stamford, Connecticut, and then the street. And as you can see, it showed up on the first page of Google searches, right below the LoopNet one. I don't know whether he had paid for a premium listing on LoopNet, and whether once you clicked on that, you'd actually be able to see what was there. But on our site, if somebody clicks on it, they're going to see what they expect to see. So here's another example of our showing up on that first page of the Google search, and you see Greenwich Avenue retail for lease was what was searched for, and voila, there it is, right there on the first page. So there are other things that you can. So let's, I guess, one of the things that was sort of like my working thesis the last few weeks has been that when you are titling your listing, I think you really need to put yourself in the mindset of the person who is going to be searching on the internet for your listing. And it doesn't, you don't have to think that hard about how to do that. What you should just do is start typing into the Google search box what you think somebody would be searching for, hit enter, and in less than a second you're going to get results. And I would encourage you, when you're adding listings to our site, go Google what you think would be a reasonable subject line and see what comes up on the first page of the Google search. And nobody gets prizes for being the most original listing title. What you do is, so you don't have to add a lot of jargon or adjectives to make your listing show up on that first page. I mean, one thing, if you're sending a flyer to somebody, you might want to throw in those adjectives on the flyer or on an email subject line. You might want to do that, but on a Google search, you really need to think, how would somebody be searching for my listing when they're doing a Google search? So if you look at the results here in this one particular instance, I searched Greenwich Avenue retail for lease, and so the first one that popped up was a LoopNet listing, says Greenwich, Connecticut retail space for lease. Next one, City Feet, which I think is also owned by CoStar, Greenwich, Connecticut retail space for lease. Next one, Greenwich retail space for rent and lease. Showcase maybe another CoStar property. They're very. Then Crexy had Greenwich, Connecticut retail space for rent, and then Quantum Listing showed up next. And this is after less than a week of being there in index, so it's really, or maybe it's exactly what you can see. It really, I was really again surprised about how quickly this showed up on the first page after this member made those changes. So you can't expect immediate gratification from this, but a week, that's pretty good, and hopefully it'll work for you as well. So in addition to, your listings are going to, sit on your profile page on Quantum Listing, and it'll show up in searches, and when you first add it, it's going to show up on the first page of our site. But once we get to the phase, where people it's been replaced, which could be minutes, hours, or maybe a day at the most of it being on the first page, you're really beginning to rely more on site searches that people are doing within quantum listing, excuse me, or web searches. And so one of the things that we believe helps with this search engine optimization, which is sort of the term for what search engines get to index, and then how they rank it. So is content, and content doesn't need to be the great American novel. It needs to be very helpful information about you and your listing. So having another thing that I should mention is that a lot of people show up on our site by Googling our members' names. And so again, take a few minutes when you've joined, or now if you haven't done it yet, to add a profile picture, to add a bio. You can see that Justine also added her LinkedIn, her business, her Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts too. And all these things count as content when it comes to the the search engines. And
Hey, David, can I interrupt for a second?
yeah, of course. This is Julia, by the way.
I just noticed that Justine just popped on the call, which is so perfect timing.
Well, thank you. Hi, Justine. So, you can see Justine did a really fabulous job with this. And when I haven't tried this recently, but if you Google Justine's name, it wouldn't surprise me if, she shows up, her quantum listing profile shows up on that first page, just because she's done such a great job with adding all this information that can then be indexed. So, profile picture, bio, business, social media links, especially LinkedIn, and if you have a website, a link to your website. They're all really important things to add.
I can confirm I just searched Justine's name and then added real estate just because sometimes when you search people's names, random people show up. And quantum listing was the second thing to show up just after her Facebook page. So just to pipe that in, your hypothesis was correct, David.
All right. Well, thank you, Julia. It's nice to be right sometimes. So, especially if you're a father of 4 kids, you very rarely get to be right. So to edit your profile, in case you're inspired by this to go and edit your profile after the webinar, it's pretty simple. You just go to your profile page and then click the pencil and paper icon to the right of where the profile picture will be. And then it opens up the form where you can add the picture, you can add a logo, add your social media links and your website as well. So it doesn't take long. You can just copy and paste the URLs from the browser for each of these things, and it really does make a difference. Now, another thing that is important in regard to your listings after your very simple title is great pictures. But hey, let's spend a little more time on title. So I know that we covered a little bit, but using things like prime corner or things like they may play well to the brokerage crowd, but to the search engine seeker, it's not necessarily going to be what gets you to that first page. So, be super basic, in that you're just saying, the asset class that it is. So, retail, office, warehouse. We know, as brokers, we're familiar with flex, but maybe you want to say warehouse office instead, because I'm not sure that The general public will think of it as flex space. Well, I have to let my dogs out. Okay, okay, dog, here you go. So, just again, you're all professionals. You really know what you're doing. The people who are looking for your space aren't necessarily professionals who know what they're doing. So, avoid very jargony, technical terms. Just think of it in terms of sort of simple, basic. Uh, what somebody who doesn't really know what they want is going to type into that search. All right, so pictures. Uh, you want to have pictures in your listing, and the clearer and brighter they are, the better. You can see here on this example that two of the listings looks like they're probably by two different people. They didn't include pictures, and these are probably listings that got syndicated from one of our partner sites, and they didn't check the box on the partner site that they had the rights to the images, so therefore they didn't syndicate. And again, if you use build out, make sure you check those boxes, because if you don't, the images will not only not flow to our site, they won't flow to any of the other sites that you're syndicating through build out as well. So, and we love our logo, and it's nice that you want to represent our logo in your listing, but it's not going to help you as much as having really great pictures of your listing there. And the first picture in your listing is the one that is going to show up as the featured image here. So make sure that's a really good one, and you if you can rearrange the images if you need to, so it's not, if you didn't put them in the right order to start with, you can always change it later. You can add more images later. It's all very flexible. Uh, so I think that, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, because it's, but that simple title, those great pictures, a listing description that you might even want to have reinforce some of the words that you use in the title in your listing description as well. And so just the description of your listing is content also that gets searched and indexed by the search engines. So, all right, so you've done, let's assume that you've now done a really great job with your title, your description, your pictures on your listing, but you're impatient like I am, and you want to see that listing get a gazillion views really fast. So, what are some other steps that you can take to do that? This next slide here talks about online advertisement. We have a system that is super easy to use, that allows you to advertise your listings on the Google AdWords display network for $25 for your listing. And for one listing, you can make sure that it will show up on websites in your market. Google display ads are the ads that show up on websites, either top, bottom, or side. And I think more than 85% of the websites that have this ads on them use Google display ads. We use this and prefer this to Google search ads, because Google display ads allow your listing to get, for $25, 20,000 or more views on these other sites, and dozens of clicks. And whereas a single, depending on your market, a single search ad could cost you, $15 or $20. If you're in a big city in a very competitive market, they'll be very expensive. Smaller area, less densely populated areas will be less expensive, but you're still never going to get the number of views and clicks for that $25 that you'll get with the Google Display Network. It takes about 24 hours for Google to approve the ad. There are certain guidelines and rules that Google has, which will make sure your ad is in compliance with it. So, once it starts running, I think there's like a $4 or $5 per day cap that we put on it. So it runs over several days, and you can spend 25, 50, or $100 on your listing ad, and the only difference is the amount of days that your ad is going to run. And just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, this is from my account. And you can see I don't run these ads every single month, but I do run them frequently. And for I would say that this ad right here, I probably spent uh, 50 or $100 on a few, total on a few different listings. And I have, for in this week, 112,500 views of my listing on these websites. And of those 112,000 views, it looks like about 85 people clicked through to see those. So you're saying, oh my gosh, 85 over 112,000, but that 85 clicks and that $25, it's more clicks than you'll get on pretty much any other website, including CoStar and LoopNet during that short time frame. And it's not a lot of money to get that many views and have that many potential people see it and decide whether or not they're interested and want to become a prospect for you. So it really is a great thing. So so I think I figured out the other day that for all these different ads that I've run over time, I've probably spent about $700 or $800, and with that $700 or $800, I've gotten if that much, it may have been a little bit less. I got 577,885 views of my listings and 400 clicks. So, it's a pretty efficient way to get people to see your listing. All right. So, here, I guess we've got some. I'll pause here and see if anybody has any questions. If you want to unmute yourself, you can. If you want to put it in the chat instead, that's fine. But let me know if you have any questions. And, in the meantime, I'll keep talking. Other things that you can do to help yourself while you're waiting for search engine optimization to be your best friend. You can use Quantum Listing to send out email blasts. You can and you can send it to your own proprietary list by yourself, and that's included with your membership. If you don't want to send it to your list, we can do it for you. You'll get one email blast included with your membership, and then I think it's $25 for an email blast by us. And then there are packages where you can get more email blasts, and it doesn't need to be for the same listing. It could be for a variety of, you can do each blast for a different listing. So I think Julia can tell us the pricing. It's 25 for one. I think it's 5 for 112 for how much, Julia?
For 200.
For 200. So the more you send, the better the deal is. But you see on this screen here, we have two different searches. just like Julia had done with Justine's profile, she did one for our member Grant Sullivan, and he showed up on that first page near the top. The next one is for Michael Hoffman, who's a broker in the Florida and the Carolinas, and you can see that he showed up, very high in the search. Uh, on so it really does help if you do those things. And both Grant and Michael have really great profiles, just like Justine's. And here's yet more examples um, of that. So it does work for you to do that stuff. Uh, and
One thing to add on this too is like, do you mind if I just say one thing on the Google searches? If you mind going back to the last slide. Um, obviously it's good for everybody when your profile shows up higher. And part of that too is what David mentioned at the beginning with there being no registration wall. So when you're clicking on one of our users' profiles, your contact information is right there. There is no barriers for the user to have to get in touch with you. Whereas some other sites, like David mentioned, there's a little bit more of a process. You have to register, you have to sign up, and then that creates more time in order for them to get in touch with you. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Julia. Now, the great thing is that more people can see your listing. The tiny downside to that is if somebody is downloading your flyer and they're not a registered member, you have to wait for them to get in touch with you. You're not going to be able to sort of see who's doing that. But if it is a registered member that's loading your flyer or saving it to look at again later, you'll get a notification of that uh, each day. So each day that somebody does that. So you do get that information for somebody who's really truly interested. And it saves you some time because people who are just pure tire kickers aren't going to be flooding your inbox. These are people who are genuine leads. Uh, and just to reinforce why you want to be on that first page, according to Moz, which is a big search engine and company, between 71 and 92% of people don't make it to the second page of search results. So it really is important. Another great thing that you can do to be on rank higher up and to get more views of your listing is to become a quantum lister. This is a blog series that we do periodically, and we ask you to fill out a questionnaire, and then we'll write a blog post about it featuring you, and your listings are added to the blog post via an iframe, which is just a way to have your profile page on another web page. So it is a great thing to do to make yourself better known. And you can see here's uh, Sue Horowitz, who's a wonderful broker out in the LA market, was one of our quantum listers. And when we searched her name in commercial real estate, she showed up first. So it is a pretty powerful way to make sure you get yourself known. And in fact, it looks like it showed up right before her own website. And here's Michael Hoffman, who is another one of our quantum listers. And you can see his profile showed up first in this instance, and right below that was his quantum lister story. So I will now take a deep breath and see if any of you nice people have questions. We love questions, and if you don't want to ask your question now, but want to set up a demo with us or just a phone call, that's fine. There's a button at the top of each page on our website that allows you to schedule a demo. On our contact us page, you can ask questions that way. And also on the bottom right corner of most pages on our website, there's a little intercom button. You can start a conversation with us that way as well. And as I said in the beginning of today's webinar, one of the great things about spending time with you and talking with you is you ask really great questions, you have interesting ideas, and we implement a lot of the changes that we've made or features that we've added to quantum listing had their genesis in conversations with our wonderful members. So it really is beneficial to us, and hopefully you guys get something out of it as well. And live demo, I guess it's time to go to the quantum listing website here. Hang on. Let's see what I need to do. Okay, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to click on this listing that we did the Google search for, and that's how we're going to get to quantum listing today. So you can see that he added Greenwich Avenue retail for lease. So I'm going to log into my profile. I'll show you an example of what I've done with some of my recent listings. Hang on a second, sorry about that. Okay, so, and as I mentioned, I started adding a listing for each space in the buildings that I'm working on. And, I try to mix it up. I don't, in some instances, I need to get out and take more pictures. I like to have a different picture for, featured picture for each listing if I can, just adds a little more visual interest. And so in this case, what I did is I started, even though you can't see the whole title here on the profile page, when you click through, you see the whole title, and it is obviously visible to the search engines who are indexing that. So in this case, I added the size of this, of this suite that is available, and then the asset class, office, the transaction type for rent, and the town. So 200 square feet isn't necessarily going to be something that that your prospective customer would search for, but if I'm looking for office space for rent in Chappaqua, New York, that's probably what I'm going to type in. I know a lot of people like for restaurants and stuff, like they'll try to do like pizza restaurant near me, or do near me searches, or they have that. But I don't think that that's necessarily the way people search for real estate. So office space for this, you can see I added this listing on when did I add it? Christmas Eve, 12/24. So it's already got over 100 views on it. I did update it a couple of days ago, and you can actually see when things were updated in quantum listing, which when you're doing searches for your customers, if you see this was updated recently, you can know that it's probably accurate information. If it hasn't been updated for months, you might want to double check with the agent to make sure that it's still available. Because so many of our listings come through syndication partnerships, I would say that we probably have a much higher proportion of up-to-date listings than most other sites do, and including sites that have professional researchers trying to update things. But this is just a great way to save a little time when you're doing it. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Julia, did I forget anything today? I always forget something.
I don't think so. I think you've been quite thorough. I know we still have Justine and Christine on the call, which that has a nice ring to it. Do either of you guys have any questions? Thank you for your nice comment, Justine, in the chat. We always love having you on these, and you're a great participant. Christine, feel free to unmute yourself, or if you want to get in touch with us afterwards, that is fine as well.
And I did mention, sorry, here's the schedule button that I was talking about earlier.
Justine, were you trying to say something?
I was I was just saying that even though I've attended some of these webinars that are similar to this, each time a little bit more of it sinks in, and I appreciate you doing these, because sometimes for me it just takes a couple of times to get it.
Well, thank you for that. And you know what, Justine, we're always learning stuff too. So, and we'd love to share what we learn with you. And, you know, hopefully we're getting better as you're getting better also. So, but thank you. All right. All right. I'm going to pause the recording now, and we can just hang out and see if anybody else has any questions. So, but before I go, thank you, Julia. And for those of you who don't know Julia yet, she is our customer success advocate and is a fantastic resource for you. So, uh, thank you, Julia. And thank you, Justine and Christine and everybody else who watched today. We do appreciate you. Thank you.